In the silence before dawn, when the Nile whispers its ancient songs and the desert holds its breath, there lived a man whose hands held the beauty of kings. His name was Kamwasit, though history would not remember it. What history would remember were the gleaming coils of hair that crowned pharaohs, the intricate braids that caught sunlight like captured amber, the magnificent wigs that transformed mortal rulers into divine beings worthy of the gods' attention. Before the pyramids settled into their eternal slumber, before the great libraries turned to dust, before the pharaohs themselves became memories carved in stone, there were the quiet ones. The forgotten craftsmen whose patient fingers wove dreams into hair, whose gentle care preserved the dignity of those who ruled the ancient world. Kamwasit was one of these quiet souls. Each morning, as Ra's golden chariot began its journey across the sky, he would wake in his modest chamber within the great palace complex of Memphis, knowing that his day would be spent in the service of something both utterly practical and mysteriously sacred. For in ancient Egypt, a pharaoh's wig was not merely decoration, it was a bridge between the earthly and divine, a symbol of power that required the most delicate care, the most devoted attention. This is the story of one such day, unfolding in the 14th century before the Common Era, when Egypt's power stretched from Nubia to the Levant, and when the art of wig-making had reached heights of sophistication that would not be seen again for millennia. It is a story told in quiet moments, in the rustle of human hair being carefully sorted, in the soft crackle of beeswax warming under gentle flames, in the satisfied sighs of a craftsman who knows his work serves something greater than himself. Come, let us walk beside Kamwasit through corridors where pharaohs once trod, into chambers where the most intimate preparations of divine rulership took place. Let us watch as his weathered hands, hands that have touched the crowning glory of gods walking among men, begin another day of their ancient, essential work. The air is cool still, pregnant with the promise of heat to come. Somewhere in the palace, a pharaoh sleeps beneath linen softer than clouds, while servants and soldiers and scribes begin to stir. But in the quiet workshop where wigs wait like sleeping memories, Kamwasit moves with the rhythm of a man who has found his place in the great pattern of things. His is not a life of conquest or glory, not a story that will echo through the ages. But it is a life of purpose, of quiet devotion, of hands that know their craft so well. They work almost without thought, guided by decades of practice and an understanding deeper than conscious knowledge. Today, like so many days before, those hands will tend to the crowning beauty of pharaohs, ensuring that when the divine ruler appears before his people, he does so with the magnificent presence that makes mortals remember they are in the presence of a god. The first light of Ra. The palace of Memphis wakes slowly, like a great beast stirring from dreams of eternity. Stone corridors that have witnessed the footsteps of 4 dynasties echo now with the soft padding of servants' feet, the gentle clatter of pottery vessels being arranged for the day's ablutions, the whispered prayers of those whose lives are dedicated to maintaining the seamless operation of divine rule. Kamwasit's eyes open without effort, as they have for 37 years of mornings. His internal rhythm, tuned to the needs of his royal charges, brings him to consciousness in the gray space between night and day, when the air still holds coolness and promise. His chamber, modest but comfortable, occupies a place of some honor within the servants' quarters, closer to the royal apartments than those of common laborers, yet appropriately distant from the chambers of high nobles and priests. The room is simple but carefully arranged. Against one wall stands a low wooden bed, its frame carved from imported cedar and strung with leather strips to support a mattress of woven reeds and linen. A single wooden stool bears a copper basin for washing, beside it a stand holding clean linen towels and a small jar of cleansing natron. Along the opposite wall, wooden chests contain his few personal possessions, additional tunics, a pair of finer sandals for ceremonial occasions, writing materials. For Kamwasit, unusually for one of his station, has learned to read and write, a skill essential to his specialized craft. But it is the small shrine in the corner that reveals most about the man. Here, carved from a single piece of limestone, sits a modest statue of Ta, the creator, god and patron of craftsmen. Before it rest small offerings renewed daily, a bit of bread, a cup of clean water, a sprig of green barley. 2 smaller figures flank the deity, Thoth, god of wisdom and patron of scribes, and Hathor, goddess of beauty and love, whose blessing is essential for any work involving personal adornment. Kamwasit rises and moves to this shrine first, as has been his custom for decades. His movements are slow, deliberate, carrying the weight of ritual and the comfortable rhythm of long practice. He lights a small oil lamp, its flame casting dancing shadows on the carved faces of the gods, and speaks the same quiet prayer that has begun each of his days since he first entered service to the palace. Ta, master of crafts, guide my hands in their work today. Let them be steady and sure, that I might honor those you have set above us. Thoth, keeper of wisdom, let my mind be clear and my memory keen, that I might remember the preferences of each royal person entrusted to my care. Hathor, bringer of beauty, let the work of my hands add to the glory of those who rule, that they might appear before their people as true children of Ra. The prayer finished, he performs his morning ablutions with the same careful attention to detail that characterizes all his work. Water from the copper basin, heated the night before with stones from the brazier, is still pleasantly warm. He washes his hands and face with particular care, scrubbing his fingernails until they gleam and examining his palms for any rough spots that might catch or damage the delicate hair he will work with. His hands are his most important tools, more important than any comb or styling implement, and he tends to them accordingly. Clean linen tunic, simple but of good quality, slides over his lean frame. Like most Egyptians of his class, Kamwasit is not tall, but his build speaks of a man who has spent his life in careful, detailed work rather than heavy labor. His shoulders are slightly rounded from years of bending over his work, his fingers long and supple, his eyes keen and patient. His own hair, kept short in the practical fashion of palace servants, shows touches of gray at the temples, marks of his 5 decades of life and his 3 decades of service. Sandals of woven reeds, practical and silent on stone floors, complete his preparation. He picks up his writing materials, a reed pen, a small palette with dried ink cakes, and a roll of papyrus, and secures them in a linen pouch that hangs from his belt. Today's work will require careful notation, as one of the lesser queens has requested modifications to her ceremonial wig for an upcoming festival. The palace awakens. Stepping from his chamber into the corridor, Kamwasit enters a world carefully ordered by centuries of tradition and protocol. The servants' quarters, while comfortable, are clearly defined as separate from the grander sections of the palace. Here, corridors are narrower, ceilings lower, decoration simpler though still elegant. Painted scenes on the walls show servants at their various tasks, cooks preparing elaborate feasts, launderers washing linen by the river, craftsmen creating beautiful objects for royal use. The air carries the mingled sense of a great household awakening, bread baking. In the palace kitchens, incense from the private chapels, the clean smell of fresh linen being distributed by the washers, and underneath it all, the faint spice of the expensive oils and perfumes that are as much a part of royal life as gold and lapis lazuli. Kamwasit walks these corridors with the easy confidence of long familiarity. He knows every turn, every doorway, every shortcut that will bring him more quickly to his destination. More importantly, he knows the rhythms of palace life, the intricate choreography that allows hundreds of people to live and work in the same building without chaos. He walks at the proper pace, not hurried, which would suggest panic or poor planning, but not leisurely, which would imply a lack of dedication to his duties. His steps are quiet, his bearing respectful but not obsequious. Other servants nod to him as he passes. His position, while not exalted, commands a certain respect. The care of royal wigs requires not only skill but absolute discretion and trustworthiness. A wig keeper has access to the most private chambers of royalty, sees them in moments of vulnerability, knows intimate details of their preferences and vanities. The trust required is immense, and those who hold such positions are valued accordingly. May your day bring honor to the palace, murmurs Senab, one of the palace scribes, as their paths cross near the junction leading to the administrative quarters. And may yours bring wisdom to those who rule, Kamwasit responds with the traditional reply. The brief exchange is warm without being familiar, another careful dance of palace protocol. The workshop of quiet artistry. Kamwasit's destination lies in a section of the palace few visitors ever see, the specialized workshops where the most skilled artisans ply their trades in service of royal magnificence. Here, in chambers carefully positioned to receive the best light while remaining appropriately separate from the main royal quarters, work the goldsmiths and jewelers, the makers of cosmetics and perfumes, the seamstresses who create garments worthy of gods, and the small, select group of wig makers and hair artists whose skills are essential to royal presentation. His workshop occupies 2 connected chambers, their walls painted in soft colors that provide a calm working environment. The larger room serves as his primary workspace, fitted with specially designed furniture created specifically for his craft. Along one wall stand shallow wooden cabinets with dozens of small drawers, each labeled in hieroglyphic notation indicating the contents, different grades of human hair sorted by color and length, sheep's wool of various qualities, plant fibers for the less expensive pieces, containers of the resins and waxes used in construction. The central work area features a low table of polished sycamore wood, its surface worn smooth by decades of use. Around it, stools of varying heights allow him to work comfortably whether standing or seated. Overhead, an ingenious arrangement of polished bronze mirrors directs sunlight from the high windows, providing even, bright illumination without the smoke and flicker of oil lamps. The second, smaller chamber serves as storage for completed works. Here, on carefully crafted stands that allow air to circulate while protecting their precious burdens, rest the magnificent wigs of the royal family. Each piece occupies its own space, labeled with symbols indicating its owner and purpose. Everyday wigs. For informal palace where stand beside elaborate ceremonial pieces destined for temple rituals and state occasions. The variety is breathtaking, from the short, practical styles favored by active young princes to the elaborate confections of curls and braids that transform queens into living goddesses. Kamwasit enters this space as a priest might enter a temple, with reverence and focused attention. This is his domain, the place where his particular skills find their highest expression. Here, he is not simply a servant but an artist, a craftsman, whose work contributes directly to the divine majesty of those chosen by the gods to rule Egypt. He begins each day with a careful inspection of his tools and materials. Combs of ivory and wood, each designed for specific tasks, are cleaned and arranged in precise order. Tiny bronze needles used for the finest detail work are checked for sharpness and straightness. Containers of adhesive materials, beeswax mixed with conifer resin in carefully measured proportions, are examined for proper consistency. This preparation ritual serves multiple purposes. It ensures everything is ready for the day's work, it allows him to spot any problems that might delay or complicate his tasks, and it centers his mind, preparing him for the careful concentration his craft demands. The morning inspection reveals that today will bring both routine maintenance and a special challenge. 3 everyday wigs require minor repairs, a few loose strands here, some reshaping there, the kind of regular upkeep that keeps royal wigs looking perfect day after day. But the main focus will be on a ceremonial piece for Queen Nefertari, the Pharaoh's great royal wife, who has requested modifications for the upcoming Opet festival. The science and artistry of ancient Egyptian wig-making represents one of humanity's earliest sophisticated approaches to personal transformation. What Kamwasit practices in his quiet workshop is the culmination of nearly 2,000 years of refinement, a craft that transforms ordinary human hair into symbols of divine authority. The process begins long before hair ever reaches his workshop. Throughout Egypt and the wider empire, hair merchants collect their precious commodity through various means. Some comes from young people selling their locks as part of economic transactions, hair being valuable enough to trade for substantial goods in Egypt's barter economy. Some is harvested from the recently deceased families, providing the hair of loved ones to generate income for proper burial expenses. The finest hair, commanding the highest prices, comes from voluntary donors who grow their hair specifically for sale, maintaining it in perfect condition through careful diet and treatment. When this hair reaches palace workshops, it undergoes extensive preparation. First comes cleaning, a meticulous process involving multiple washings with natron and plant-based soaps to remove all traces of oils, dirt, and the eggs of lice that plague even the wealthiest households. Hair is then sorted by color, length, and quality. The finest grades, destined for royal use, are separated into bundles of approximately 400 strands each, the optimal amount for creating the individual elements that will form a finished wig. The construction process itself is a marvel of engineering and artistry. Unlike modern wigs, which typically use a fabric cap as a base, ancient Egyptian pieces employ an intricate mesh created entirely from hair itself. Foundation strands are laid in a careful grid pattern, each intersection secured with tiny knots and reinforced with the adhesive mixture of beeswax and resin. This creates a base that is both incredibly durable and naturally breathable, essential for comfort in Egypt's intense heat. Individual decorative elements, the curls, braids, and styled sections that give each wig its character, are created separately and then attached to this base. Curls are formed around specially carved wooden rods, secured with the wax mixture, and left to set. Complex braids incorporating multiple hair colors require hours of patient work. Some elements, particularly those for ceremonial wigs, include strands of gold thread or tiny beads of precious materials woven directly into the hair structure. The final assembly represents the highest expression of the wigmaker's art. Each element must be positioned not only for maximum visual impact but also with consideration for the wearer's comfort and the piece's structural integrity. The weight must be evenly distributed to prevent headaches during long ceremonies. The balance must be perfect to maintain the wig's shape even during the movements required by royal protocol. The overall design must complement the wearer's facial structure while conforming to the stylistic conventions that mark their rank and role. A single royal wig might require 200 hours of work and represent a value equivalent to several years' wages for a common laborer. The most elaborate ceremonial pieces, incorporating precious materials and requiring the most skilled artistry, could cost as much as a substantial house. Yet in the context of Egyptian royal culture, where the pharaoh's divine appearance was literally essential to the proper functioning of the cosmos, no expense was too great, no detail too minor to deserve the most careful attention. The daily consultation. As the sun climbs higher and the palace fully awakens to another day of imperial administration, Kamwasit prepares for one of his most important daily tasks: the morning consultation with the palace chamberlain regarding the day's royal requirements. This meeting, brief but essential, ensures that every aspect of royal presentation is coordinated and prepared well in advance. The chamberlain, a middle-aged man named Amenhotep whose family has served the palace for 3 generations, arrives precisely as the shadow of the courtyard sundial touches the morning mark. His bearing is formal but not unfriendly. The relationship between specialized craftsmen and administrative officials requires mutual respect and clear communication. The peace of the gods upon your work, Kamwasit, Amenhotep begins with the traditional greeting. And upon the house they have blessed with their presence, Kamwasit responds, gesturing for the chamberlain to be seated on the wooden stool reserved for such consultations. Amenhotep unrolls a papyrus tablet, consulting the intricate notation system that records the daily schedule of every member of the royal family. His Majesty holds court this morning, receiving the delegation from Nubia. The formal audience wig will be required, with the ceremony of the golden cobra. Kamwasit nods, making his own notation. The pharaoh's formal audience wig is a masterpiece of imposing grandeur, its elevated crown and perfectly arranged curls designed to emphasize the divine authority of Egypt's god-king. The ceremony of the golden cobra requires the attachment of a specific ornamental piece, a golden uraeus serpent that symbolizes the pharaoh's power to destroy his enemies with divine fire. The great royal wife attends the morning temple service at the sanctuary of Hathor. The chamberlain continues her request regarding modifications for the Opet festival. Have you had opportunity to consider the specifications? This question carries more weight than its casual phrasing suggests. Queen Nefertari's request represents both an opportunity to demonstrate exceptional skill and a potential source of significant anxiety. Royal women, particularly those as intelligent and involved in court politics as the current queen, often have very specific ideas about their appearance. Meeting those expectations while maintaining the technical and aesthetic standards appropriate to their station requires not only skill but a deep understanding of royal psychology and preference. I have prepared preliminary sketches, Kamwasit responds, moving to retrieve a papyrus sheet covered with detailed drawings. Her Majesty wishes to incorporate elements that honor both the traditional Theban style and the newer fashions influenced by our recent diplomatic exchanges with the Eastern kingdoms. The sketches show variations on the classical royal wig style, but with subtle modifications that reflect contemporary influences. Instead of the purely Egyptian arrangement of parallel braids, Kamwasit has designed sections that incorporate the intricate knotwork patterns popular among Mesopotamian royal women. The overall silhouette remains appropriately Egyptian, but the details speak to Egypt's position as a cosmopolitan empire aware of and influenced by the wider world. Amenhotep examines the sketches with the eye of someone who must anticipate royal reaction. The queen will be pleased with the acknowledgement of current diplomatic relationships, he observes. The incorporation of foreign elements shows Egypt's cultural confidence. We can adopt what pleases us without compromising our essential character. They discuss timing, logistics, and the coordination required for various ceremonies. The pharaoh's schedule includes not only the morning audience but an afternoon inspection of building works and an evening ritual at the temple of Ta. Each occasion requires different presentation, different subtle modifications to his appearance that reinforce the specific aspect of royal authority being emphasized. The consultation concludes with Amenhotep's departure and Kamwaset's return to his careful preparation work. The day's requirements are clear, the expectations understood. Now comes the quiet satisfaction of skilled work well done, the meditative rhythm of ancient craftsmanship serving eternal purposes. Act 2, the rhythm of devotion, a day in the service of divine beauty. Approximately 75 to 90 minutes. Morning ministrations. With the morning consultation completed and the day's requirements clearly established, Kamwaset settles into the deep focus that his work demands. The first task, preparing the Pharaoh's formal audience wig, represents both routine, maintenance and the highest expression of his craft. This particular piece, created in his workshop 5 years earlier, has been worn for hundreds of ceremonial occasions and bears the subtle signs of that noble service. He begins by carefully removing the wig from its storage stand, a carved wooden head that matches the Pharaoh's measurements precisely. The piece settles into his hands with familiar weight, the density of its construction speaking to both the quality of its materials and the solidity of its craftsmanship. Even after years of use, the base mesh remains strong and flexible, the individual hair elements maintaining their intended shape and position. The inspection reveals minor issues that must be addressed before the morning's ceremony. Several strands near the left temple have worked loose from their moorings, not enough to be visible to observers, but sufficient to compromise the wig's structural integrity if left unattended. 2 of the formal curls that frame the Pharaoh's face have lost some of their precise definition, a natural result of repeated handling and the effects of Egypt's dry climate on the binding agents. Kamwaset arranges his tools with the precision of a surgeon preparing for delicate work. The loose strands require reattachment using the traditional mixture of beeswax and conifer resin, but the proportions must be adjusted for repair work rather than initial construction. Too much resin will create a visible blob, too little will fail to hold under the stress of royal movement. He warms the mixture in a small bronze vessel, testing the consistency by drawing thin strands between his fingers until the texture is exactly right. The reattachment process requires extraordinary delicacy. Each loose strand must be positioned precisely in its original location, then secured with the smallest possible amount of adhesive. The work is performed using tools that would be familiar to any fine craftsman: thin bronze needles for positioning, tiny ivory spatulas for applying adhesive, combs carved from single pieces of hippopotamus ivory to ensure no rough spots mar the finished surface. Working on the Pharaoh's wig carries a weight of responsibility unlike any other task in Kamwaset's repertoire. This is the crown that will be seen by foreign ambassadors, Egyptian nobles, and the common people who gather for public ceremonies. Any flaw, any sign of poor maintenance, reflects not only on the craftsman but on the divine dignity of Egypt itself. Yet the pressure enhances, rather than impedes his concentration. This is work he was trained for, work he has perfected through decades of practice. The curls require different treatment. Here, the goal is not repair but renewal, restoring the precise shape and texture that marks them as worthy of royal use. Kamwaset has developed his own technique for this delicate process, one that involves careful reheating of the existing shaping agents while simultaneously repositioning the hair elements. The curls must be unwound partially, reshaped around the forming tools, then secured again with fresh adhesive. This work cannot be rushed. Each curl represents perhaps 2 hours of original construction time, and restoring it to perfect condition requires at least half that effort. Kamwaset works with the patience of a man who understands that excellence cannot be hurried, that the difference between adequate and perfect lies in the willingness to take whatever time the work requires. As he works, his mind settles into the meditative state that sustained focus brings. The workshop around him fades into background awareness, the sounds of the palace awakening, the gradually warming air, the play of light from the carefully positioned mirrors. His world contracts to the space between his hands, to the feel of individual hairs responding to his guidance, to the satisfaction of seeing perfection emerge from patient effort. The philosophy of service between tasks, as adhesive set and shaped elements stabilize in their renewed positions, Kamwaset allows his thoughts to wander over the deeper meaning of his chosen work. He is not a man given to abstract philosophy, but 30 years of serving the divine royal family has taught him lessons that extend far beyond the Technical aspects of wig construction and maintenance. In the Egyptian worldview, every element of royal presentation serves cosmic purposes that extend far beyond personal vanity or even political necessity. The Pharaoh is not merely a human ruler but the earthly embodiment of divine authority, the living representative of the gods who maintain order against the forces of chaos that constantly threaten to overwhelm creation. When Kamwasit perfects a royal wig, he participates in the great work of cosmic maintenance, ensuring that divine authority appears before both gods and men in forms worthy of its essential nature. This understanding transforms what might otherwise be seen as mere cosmetic work into something approaching religious service. The precision he brings to shaping a curl, the care he takes in balancing a complex piece, the hours he spends ensuring that every element meets the highest standards, all of this contributes to the great illusion, or perhaps reality, that separates pharaohs from ordinary mortals and marks them as beings capable of interceding with gods on behalf of their people. Yet there is nothing pretentious about Kamwasit's understanding of his role. He knows that he is a craftsman, not a priest or noble. His contribution to the cosmic order is valuable precisely because it is practical, grounded in skill rather than theory, expressed through work rather than words. The gods need their representatives to appear divine, and divine appearance requires human hands skilled enough to create it. The morning's work on the pharaoh's audience wig nears completion. The repaired sections are indistinguishable from the original construction, the renewed curls frame an invisible face with perfect precision. Kamwasit holds the piece at arm's length, examining it from multiple angles to ensure that his work meets the exacting standards the occasion demands. Satisfied, he moves to prepare the ceremonial golden cobra that will complete the pharaoh's regalia for the morning audience. This piece, crafted by the palace's master goldsmith but requiring Kamwasit's expertise for proper attachment, represents another layer of symbolic meaning. The Urias serpent, rearing in divine fury, proclaims the pharaoh's power to destroy enemies through supernatural means. Its positioning and angle must be precisely calculated to convey both majesty and threat. The attachment mechanism, developed through years of collaboration between wigmaker and goldsmith, allows the cobra to be securely mounted while remaining easily removable for storage and cleaning. Hidden clasps, virtually invisible when the piece is properly positioned, distribute the weight evenly across the wig's structure while providing the stability necessary for ceremonial movement. Royal preparations. As the morning advances toward the time appointed for the formal audience, Kamwasit receives word that his presence is required in the pharaoh's private chambers. This summons, while not unexpected, brings a slight quickening of the pulse that even decades of experience cannot entirely eliminate. Direct service to the pharaoh requires not only technical competence but also the psychological preparation necessary for interaction with divinity. The path from workshop to royal chambers takes him through increasingly grand sections of the palace. Corridors widen, ceilings soar higher, wall decorations become more elaborate and precious. Guards in ceremonial dress stand at attention at key intersections, their presence a reminder of the layers of protection that surround Egypt's god-king. Servants move with more formal bearing, their usual casual efficiency replaced by the heightened awareness that proximity to royalty demands. Kamwasit carries the completed wig on a special cushion tray, the golden cobra secured in a separate compartment designed to prevent any damage during transport. His own appearance has been carefully checked and adjusted, tunic perfectly clean and pressed, sandals brushed to remove any trace of workshop dust, hands washed and oiled to ensure they are soft enough for contact with royal hair and skin. The pharaoh's dressing chamber occupies a position of central importance within the royal apartments, designed to facilitate the complex daily ritual of divine preparation. Here, various specialists gather each morning to ensure that Egypt's god-king emerges into public view in a condition befitting his cosmic role. The chamber itself reflects this importance, walls covered with scenes of royal triumph and divine favor, furniture of the finest materials and craftsmanship, lighting arranged to ensure that every detail of preparation can be observed and perfected. Other members of the royal service team are already present when Kamwasit arrives. The chief dresser, responsible for the pharaoh's garments and jewelry, makes final adjustments to ceremonial robes that catch and reflect light like captured sunbeams. The cosmetics specialist prepares pigments and applicators for the eye makeup that enhances and protects royal vision. The perfumer arranges vessels containing oils and essences that will ensure the pharaoh carries The sense of divinity, frankincense from the mysterious land of Punt, cedar oils from Lebanon, myrrh from the southern reaches of the empire. The pharaoh himself remains in an adjacent chamber, undergoing the private ablutions and prayers that prepare him spiritually for his public role. This separation serves multiple purposes. It maintains royal privacy during vulnerable moments, it allows the service team to complete their preparations without royal oversight, and it preserves the dramatic impact of the final transformation from private man to public god. When the summons comes, Kamwasit enters the royal presence with the measured steps and downcast eyes that protocol demands. Even after decades of such encounters, the moment carries an emotional weight that time has not diminished. Here is the man whose divine authority extends from the cataracts of Nubia to the shores of the Great Green, whose decisions affect millions of lives, whose favor can elevate individuals to positions of power and influence beyond ordinary imagination. Yet the man Kamwasit sees is also recognizably human, tall and strong from years of physical training, but marked by the subtle signs of mortality that no amount of divine authority can entirely erase. The careful maintenance of royal wigs serves partly to conceal these human elements, to ensure that public appearances emphasize the superhuman aspects of pharaonic identity. Approach, Kamwasit, comes the familiar voice, carrying the authority of absolute power modulated by years of mutual respect and professional interaction. The morning brings important visitors, and Egypt must appear to them as the eternal kingdom our gods have made it. The wig placement process unfolds with the precision of well-rehearsed ritual. Kamwasit's movements are economical and sure. Positioning the piece correctly requires familiarity with the pharaoh's head shape and personal preferences accumulated through years of service. The base mesh settles smoothly over the royal scalp, its careful construction distributing weight evenly and comfortably. Adjustment straps, hidden within the structure, are tightened to ensure security without compromising comfort. The attachment of the golden cobra requires particular care. The piece must be positioned at precisely the correct angle, too high and it appears to float above the pharaoh's head, too low and it loses its intimidating impact. The hidden clasps must be secured firmly enough to prevent any movement during ceremony, yet not so tightly as to create pressure points that might cause discomfort during extended public appearances. Throughout this process, Kamwasit maintains the focused attention that marks true mastery. His hands move without hesitation, guided by knowledge so deeply embedded that it operates below the level of conscious thought. Yet his mind remains alert to the subtle feedback that tells him when the positioning is exactly right, when the weight distribution is optimal, when every element has achieved its intended effect. With the pharaoh's preparation complete, Kamwasit withdraws to observe the morning's formal audience from his designated position among the palace staff. This vantage point, while distant from the center of action, provides an excellent view of his handiwork in its intended context, the magnificent theater of royal presentation that transforms political necessity into cosmic drama. The audience hall represents one of ancient Egypt's greatest architectural achievements, a space designed to awe visitors while providing practical accommodation for the complex ceremonies of imperial administration. Massive columns, each carved from single blocks of stone, support a ceiling decorated with astronomical scenes that place earthly events within their cosmic context. The floor, polished granite from Aswan, reflects light in patterns that seem to shift and flow like the sacred Nile itself. The pharaoh's throne, positioned at the hall's focal point, elevates him above mere mortal concerns while surrounding him with symbols of divine authority. Behind the throne, painted scenes show the pharaoh receiving tribute from conquered nations and divine approval from anthropomorphic gods. To either side, standards bearing the symbols of Upper and Lower Egypt remind all present that they stand before the ruler of a unified kingdom that stretches from desert to sea. The Nubian delegation enters with the careful dignity of experienced diplomats, representing a powerful southern neighbor. Nubia's relationship with Egypt is complex, sometimes vassal, sometimes rival, always important enough to demand royal attention and careful ceremonial treatment. The visitors wear their own versions of court dress, rich fabrics and gold ornaments that speak to Nubia's wealth while remaining distinctly different from Egyptian styles. From his position among the palace staff, Kamwasit observes how his morning's work contributes to the overall effect. The pharaoh's wig, enhanced by the gleaming golden cobra, creates exactly the impression of otherworldly authority that such occasions require. The Nubian visitors, despite their own impressive appearance and long experience with royal courts, show the subtle Signs of intimidation that mark successful royal presentation, slightly widened. Eyes, unconsciously straightened postures, the careful precision of movement. That comes from awareness of being in the presence of power beyond ordinary human measure. The formal dialogue unfolds according to diplomatic protocols refined over centuries of Egyptian imperial expansion. The Nubian chief ambassador presents gifts that acknowledge Egyptian supremacy while maintaining his own people's dignity: gold from the southern mines, ivory from elephants that roam beyond the cataracts, exotic animals for the royal menagerie. The pharaoh's responses demonstrate gracious acceptance while making clear the hierarchical relationship between giver and receiver. Throughout the ceremony, royal presentation remains perfect. The pharaoh's wig maintains its precise positioning despite the movement required by protocol. The golden cobra catches light from the hall's high windows, creating moments of brilliant reflection that seem to confirm its supernatural nature. Even from his distant position, Kamwasit can see that every element of his morning's work continues to serve its intended purpose. The audience concludes with the exchange of formal assurances, Nubian promises of continued cooperation and tribute, Egyptian guarantees of protection and trade advantages. As the delegation withdraws with the measured steps of satisfied diplomats, the pharaoh rises from his throne and processes from the hall with the dignity befitting a god who has successfully maintained cosmic order through the proper exercise of divine authority. Afternoon refinements. The morning's ceremonial success brings Kamwasit a quiet satisfaction that sustains him through the afternoon's different but equally important tasks. With the pharaoh's formal requirements met, attention turns to the modification of Queen Nefertari's ceremonial wig for the upcoming Opet festival, work that represents both technical challenge and artistic opportunity. The queen's request incorporates elements that reflect Egypt's evolving position in the ancient world. The traditional Egyptian wig styles, magnificent in their own right, increasingly show influences from the kingdom's diplomatic and trade relationships with distant lands. Mesopotamian knotwork patterns, Minoan color combinations, Hittite ornamental elements, all filtered through Egyptian aesthetic sensibilities to create looks that proclaim Egypt's cultural sophistication while maintaining essential royal dignity. Kamwasit has spent considerable time preparing for this project, consulting not only with the queen's personal attendants but also with palace officials familiar with the symbolic requirements of the Opet festival. This celebration, one of ancient Egypt's most important religious occasions, honors the divine marriage between Ammonius Ra and Mut while reaffirming the pharaoh's role as their earthly representative. The queen's appearance during the festival ceremonies must reflect both her personal status and her symbolic function as the embodiment of divine feminine power. The base wig selected for modification represents some of Kamwasit's finest previous work, a piece created 2 years earlier for the queen's coronation ceremony. The construction employs the most sophisticated techniques available to ancient wigmakers: a mesh base of exceptional fineness, individual hair elements selected for perfect color matching, decorative sections that incorporate gold thread and tiny precious stones. The modification challenge lies not in creating something new but in enhancing perfection without diminishing its essential character. The foreign elements requested by the queen must be integrated so seamlessly that they appear to have been part of the original design. This requires not only technical skill but also artistic sensitivity, the ability to visualize how different cultural traditions can be combined without creating confusion or inappropriate cultural mixing. The result must speak clearly of Egyptian royal identity while acknowledging the cosmopolitan influences that mark advanced civilization. Kamwasit begins by carefully documenting the wig's current condition, creating detailed drawings that will guide the modification process and ensure that changes can be reversed if necessary. He photographs each section from multiple angles, not with modern cameras, of course, but through detailed sketches that capture every nuance of construction and positioning. This documentation serves both practical and protective purposes, providing reference material for the work ahead while creating evidence that proper care has been taken with royal property. The actual modification work requires the creation of new decorative elements that will be inserted into the existing structure. These pieces, smaller than a finger joint but incorporating dozens of individual components, represent hours of concentrated effort. Kamwasit works with hair strands sorted to precise color specifications, using techniques developed through years of experimentation to achieve effects that push the boundaries of ancient wig-making technology. The Mesopotamian knotwork patterns prove particularly challenging. These designs, common in the royal courts of Babylon and Assyria, employ mathematical principles that differ subtly from Egyptian approaches to decorative hair arrangement. The knots must be tied with specific tension to achieve the desired visual effect, yet remain flexible enough to move naturally with the wig's overall structure. Too tight and they create rigid sections that disturb the piece's graceful flow, too loose and they lose the precise definition that makes them recognizably foreign and therefore diplomatically significant. The Queen's consultation. As afternoon shadows begin to lengthen across the workshop floor, Kamwasit receives word that Queen Nefertari wishes to inspect the progress of her festival wig modifications. This announcement brings a flutter of anticipation mixed with professional confidence. Royal consultations provide opportunities to demonstrate expertise while requiring the delicate navigation of personal preferences and protocol requirements. The Queen's approach to her workshop is announced by the soft sound of sandaled feet and the gentle rustle of fine linen. Her entourage, smaller than would accompany a public appearance but still substantial enough to emphasize royal status, includes her personal dresser, a scribe to record any decisions or changes, and 2 guards whose presence is purely ceremonial within the palace walls. Queen Nefertari herself embodies the refined elegance that has made her one of ancient Egypt's most celebrated royal women. Tall and graceful, with the kind of natural bearing that appears effortless but reflects years of training in royal deportment, she moves through the workshop with the confident curiosity of someone accustomed to excellence in all aspects of her environment. Her own hair, visible beneath a simple day crown, shows the lustrous health that comes from careful diet and the most sophisticated cosmetic treatments available to ancient technology. Peace and prosperity attend your work, Kamwasit. She begins with the formal greeting, her voice carrying the musical accent that marks members of the royal family. We are eager to see how our vision takes form under your skilled hands. The Queen's use of the royal we reflects not pomposity but the careful linguistic distinctions that maintain proper hierarchy even in relatively informal interactions. Kamwasit responds with appropriate formality while moving to display the work in progress, arranging the modified sections to best advantage under the workshop's carefully designed lighting. The Queen examines each element with the practiced eye of someone who understands both technical excellence and aesthetic impact. Her questions demonstrate sophisticated knowledge of wig construction. She inquires about specific attachment methods, asks about the durability of new adhesive combinations, requests explanations of how foreign decorative elements will move and catch light during ceremonial processions. The Mesopotamian sections achieve exactly the effect we envisioned, she observes with satisfaction. They proclaim Egypt's awareness of wider world without compromising our essential character. The diplomatic message will be clear to those who understand such things, while ordinary observers will simply see enhanced beauty. Kamwasit allows himself a moment of quiet pride at this assessment. Royal approval, particularly from someone as sophisticated as Queen Nefertari, represents the highest validation of his professional competence. Yet the consultation continues with discussion of additional refinements, minor adjustments that will perfect the piece for its festival debut. The Queen's suggestions reveal the depth of thought she has given to her festival appearance. Each proposed modification serves multiple purposes, enhancing visual impact, reinforcing symbolic messages, ensuring comfort during extended ceremonial requirements. Her approach to royal presentation combines practical considerations with sophisticated understanding of the political and religious functions that her appearance serves. The Opet Festival provides opportunity to demonstrate both continuity and change, she explains as they discuss the positioning of certain decorative elements. Our appearance must honor ancient traditions while showing that Egypt remains vigorous and responsive to the best influences from throughout our sphere of influence. The consultation concludes with agreement on final details and a timeline for completion. The Queen's departure leaves Kamwasit energized and focused, ready to apply the final touches that will transform already excellent work into something approaching perfection. Evening preparations. As Ra's solar boat begins its journey through the underworld and the palace prepares for evening activities, Kamwasit faces his final major task of the day: preparing the Pharaoh for the evening ritual at the Temple of Ptah. This ceremony, while less politically significant than the morning's diplomatic audience, carries profound religious importance that requires equally careful attention to detail. The evening ritual wig differs substantially from the formal audience piece used earlier, where the morning ceremony demanded intimidating grandeur suitable For impressing foreign diplomats, the evening's religious observance requires a more subtle magnificence that emphasizes the pharaoh's role as high priest rather than political ruler. The wig selected for this purpose employs longer, flowing elements that move gracefully during ritual activities, decorated with symbols sacred to Ptah and finished in colors that complement the ceremonial robes worn for temple service. Kamwasit begins his preparation by carefully cleaning and refreshing the piece, removing any dust or debris accumulated during storage while restoring the lustrous appearance that marks royal quality hairwork. This process employs specialized techniques developed specifically for maintaining wigs in Egypt's challenging climate, dry enough to preserve organic materials indefinitely, yet harsh enough to require constant attention to prevent deterioration. The cleaning process employs a combination of gentle mechanical methods and carefully selected chemical treatments. Soft brushes made from bird feathers remove surface particles without disturbing the underlying structure. Aromatic oils, applied sparingly and worked through the hair strands with patient manipulation, restore flexibility and sheen while providing pleasant fragrance. Appropriate to temple service. Particular attention focuses on the symbolic elements incorporated into the wig's design. Miniature representations of Ptah's sacred tools, the was scepter, the Ankh of life, the Jed pillar of stability, require careful cleaning and repositioning to ensure their visibility and symbolic impact. These elements, crafted from precious materials by the palace's most skilled artisans, represent the intersection of wig making and religious art, requiring Kamwasit to work with the sensitivity of a temple priest as well as the precision of a master craftsman. The restoration work reveals the subtle deterioration that affects even the finest pieces over time. Several decorative strands show signs of weakness that will require attention before the wig can be used for another major ceremony. A few attachment points have loosened slightly, not enough to affect the current evening's use but sufficient to warrant future maintenance. Kamwasit makes careful notes of these observations, planning the preventive work that will ensure the piece remains in perfect condition for its next important appearance. As evening shadows deepen and oil lamps begin to flicker throughout the palace, Kamwasit completes his preparation of the ritual wig. The piece rests on its storage stand, every element perfectly positioned, ready for the ceremonial transformation that will prepare Egypt's god-king for communion with the divine powers that sustain creation itself. The temple procession. As twilight settles over Memphis and the first stars appear in Egypt's eternal sky, Kamwasit takes his place among the palace retinue that will accompany the pharaoh to the evening temple ceremony. This procession, while smaller and less public than the great state occasions that mark major festivals, maintains all the dignity and careful protocol that characterizes royal religious observance. The route from palace to temple follows streets that have witnessed such processions for centuries, their stones worn smooth by the feet of kings and courtiers making their way to sacred obligations. Tonight, as every evening when royal presence graces the temple of Ptah, the path is lined with palace guards and local officials, their silent attention creating corridors of respect through which divinity may pass without disturbance. Kamwasit walks among the craftsmen and specialists whose work contributes to royal magnificence, close enough to observe the success of his afternoons preparation, distant enough to maintain the proper hierarchical relationships that govern palace life. From this position, he can see how the evening wig moves and catches light, how its careful construction enhances rather than impedes the ritual movements that temple service requires. The pharaoh himself moves with the measured pace of religious ceremony, each step deliberate and meaningful within the context of sacred observance. The evening wig frames his face with perfect proportion, its flowing elements adding grace to movement while maintaining the dignity essential to divine representation. The symbolic decorations catch and reflect the light of ceremonial torches, creating moments of brilliant illumination that seem to confirm the supernatural nature of pharaonic authority. The Temple of Ptah receives the royal procession with ceremonies refined through generations of religious practice. Priests emerge in their prescribed order, carrying sacred implements and chanting invocations that prepare both earthly and divine participants for the communion to come. The temple itself, ancient even by Egyptian standards, provides a setting that emphasizes continuity with the primordial moments when gods first established order from chaos. As the pharaoh disappears into the temple's sacred precincts for rituals that few may witness, Kamwasit joins the other palace staff in the quiet wait that such occasions require. This interlude provides time for reflection on the day's work and its contribution to the great patterns of service that sustain Egyptian civilization. The satisfaction of service. Standing in the temple courtyard while sacred ceremonies unfold beyond his sight, Kamwasit allows his thoughts to range over the events of the day and their place within the larger patterns of his life and work. The morning's diplomatic success, the afternoon's artistic achievements, the evening's religious solemnity. All represent facets of the comprehensive service that his position requires and provides. There is deep satisfaction in work well done, in skills applied to worthy purposes. In the knowledge that his contribution, however specialized and behind the scenes, serves essential functions within the great organism of Egyptian royal culture. The pharaoh's commanding presence during the morning audience, enhanced by the perfect preparation of his formal wig, advanced Egyptian diplomatic interests in ways that might prevent conflicts and secure prosperity for millions of subjects. Queen Nefertari's festival wig, when completed according to her sophisticated specifications, will proclaim Egypt's cultural confidence and openness to beneficial foreign influences. The evening's temple ceremony, supported by appropriate religious regalia, maintains the divine connections that Egyptians believe essential to cosmic stability. Yet the satisfaction runs deeper than professional pride or awareness of political significance. Kamwasit has found in his specialized craft a form of service that engages both technical skill and artistic sensitivity, that demands excellence while providing clear measures of success, that connects individual effort to purposes that transcend personal ambition or material reward. The work itself possesses intrinsic value that extends beyond its functional applications. The patient selection and preparation of materials, the careful construction of complex elements, the delicate balance between durability and beauty, all of this represents human creativity applied to the transformation of natural materials into objects of transcendent magnificence. When Kamwasit shapes a curl or positions a decorative element, he participates in the ancient human impulse to create beauty, to impose meaningful order on the raw materials of existence. The religious dimension of his work provides additional layers of meaning and satisfaction. In Egyptian understanding, the proper appearance of divine rulers serves cosmic functions that extend far beyond human politics or personal vanity. The maintenance of Ma'at, the principle of truth, justice, and cosmic order, requires that divine authority appear in forms worthy of its essential nature. When Kamwasit ensures that royal wigs meet the highest standards of technical and aesthetic excellence, he contributes to the preservation of cosmic stability itself. This understanding transforms what might otherwise be seen as merely cosmetic work into something approaching priestly service. The precision he brings to technical details, the reverence he maintains for the materials and tools of his craft, the dedication he shows to continuous improvement in his skills, all of this reflects the religious attitude that ancient Egyptians brought to any work that served divine purposes. Memories of a master craftsman. As he waits in the temple courtyard, listening to the distant sounds of sacred ceremony, Kamwasit's mind drifts back over the decades of experience that have brought him to his current position of mastery and respect. Memory brings back the nervous young apprentice who first entered the palace workshops, overwhelmed by the complexity of royal service and uncertain whether his rural upbringing had prepared him for such sophisticated demands. His first teacher, an elderly craftsman named Ankef, whose hands trembled with age but whose eyes remained sharp enough to spot the smallest flaw in construction or positioning, had emphasized the spiritual dimensions of their shared work. "We do not merely arrange hair," the old man had insisted during countless hours of instruction. "We create the visible forms through which divine authority manifests in the world of human experience. Every strand must be perfect because imperfection diminishes the gods themselves." That early instruction had shaped Kamwasit's approach to his craft in ways that remained influential decades later. Technical mastery, while essential, was never sufficient by itself. The work demanded an attitude of reverence, a understanding that craftsmanship at the highest levels serves purposes that transcend immediate practical requirements. Excellence became not just a professional goal but a moral obligation, a form of worship expressed through material skill rather than verbal prayer. The years of apprenticeship had brought gradual mastery of increasingly complex techniques, each new skill opening doors to more sophisticated and challenging work. Learning to create the mesh base that supports all royal wigs required months of practice before his attempts met minimum standards of strength and flexibility. Mastering the attachment of decorative elements demanded even longer, as the work required not only technical precision but also artistic sensitivity to proportion and balance. The progression from apprentice to journeyman to master craftsman had paralleled changes in Egypt itself, as the kingdom's power and influence reached heights not seen since the greatest days of the Old Kingdom. Royal presentation became increasingly elaborate as diplomatic contacts expanded and cultural influences multiplied. The simple elegance of earlier periods gave way to sophisticated complexity that challenged craftsmen to develop new techniques and achieve new levels of artistic achievement. Yet throughout these changes, the essential principles of royal wig-making remained constant. Technical excellence, aesthetic sensitivity, and spiritual reverence continued to guide the work regardless of stylistic evolution or increasing complexity. The foundation skills learned during apprenticeship, patience, attention to detail, respect for materials and tools, remained as relevant to current work as they had been to the simpler projects of earlier years. The young apprentice. The sound of approaching footsteps draws Kamwasit from his reveries as a figure emerges from the shadows of the temple courtyard. The newcomer is young, perhaps 15 years of age, with the eager expression and carefully maintained appearance that mark promising candidates for palace service. His approach combines appropriate deference with the confidence of someone who has already demonstrated exceptional aptitude for specialized work. Master Kamwasit, the young man begins with the formal address that protocol requires. I am Pakhem, son of Senusret the scribe. I have been assigned to begin training in the arts of royal hair preparation under your guidance. The announcement brings a mixture of pleasure and responsibility that Kamwasit recognizes from previous occasions when promising apprentices have been placed under his instruction. Training the next generation of craftsmen represents both honor and obligation, recognition of his own mastery combined with the duty to ensure that essential skills continue to be transmitted to capable hands. He studies the young man with the eye of someone who has learned to assess potential in aspiring craftsmen. Pakhem's hands show signs of careful maintenance, clean nails, smooth palms, fingers that move with the controlled precision that suggests familiarity with delicate work. His posture combines respectful attention with the alert awareness that marks individuals capable of sustained concentration. Most importantly, his eyes show the kind of patient intelligence that can absorb complex instruction and apply it creatively to novel situations. Your father's reputation as a scribe speaks well for your family's understanding of precision and attention to detail. Kamwasit responds, beginning the relationship with acknowledgement of family connections that provide context for individual capability. The work you seek to learn demands these qualities in exceptional measure. Are you prepared for instruction that may require years of patient effort before achieving minimal competence? The question serves multiple purposes, testing the young man's commitment, establishing expectations that will govern their relationship, and beginning the process of mental preparation that transforms enthusiasm into sustainable dedication. Many aspiring craftsmen arrive with romantic notions about palace service that dissolve when confronted with the reality of demanding technical work requiring constant attention to minute details. Pakhem's response demonstrates the kind of thoughtful consideration that marks promising students. Master, I have observed enough of palace life to understand that excellence cannot be achieved quickly or easily. I am prepared to begin with the most basic tasks and progress only as rapidly as my developing skills warrant. My goal is not quick advancement but thorough mastery of whatever you judge appropriate to teach. The answer satisfies Kamwasit's initial assessment while revealing qualities that suggest genuine potential for advanced work. The willingness to begin with basic tasks, the acceptance of gradual progression, the focus on mastery rather than advancement, all indicate the kind of attitude that can sustain the long process of craft development. As the temple ceremony continues beyond their sight, master, and perspective, apprentice begin the conversation that will determine whether their relationship can serve the transmission of specialized knowledge from one generation to the next. Kamwasit finds himself remembering his own first encounters with craft instruction, the mixture of excitement and intimidation that accompanies entry into specialized professional communities. The emergence of the Pharaoh from the temple brings the evening's religious observances to their conclusion and signals the return procession to the palace. As the royal party reassembles with the measured formality that characterizes all court activities, Kamwasit notes with satisfaction that the evening wig has maintained its perfect appearance throughout the temple ceremony. The flowing elements that enhance ritual movement show no signs of displacement or damage. The sacred symbols incorporated into the design continue to catch light in ways that emphasize their religious significance. Walking back through streets now illuminated by strategically placed torches, Kamwasit continues his assessment of young Packham while explaining some of the basic principles that govern royal wig maintenance. The instruction begins with observation rather than hands-on work, as the young man must first develop the visual sensitivity necessary to recognize excellence before attempting to create it. Notice how the Pharaoh's wig moves as he walks. Kamwasit instructs in low tones that maintain appropriate discretion. See how the flowing sections respond to his pace without losing their intended shape. This natural movement results from careful construction that balances support with flexibility. Rigid pieces create artificial appearance that diminishes rather than enhances royal dignity. Packham's questions reveal quick understanding combined with proper humility about the complexity of the craft he hopes to learn. He asks about materials rather than techniques, demonstrating awareness that mastery begins with thorough knowledge of the tools and components that skilled work requires. His observations about the interplay between wig construction and royal movement show the kind of analytical thinking that can be developed into artistic sensitivity. The return to the palace provides opportunity to view the workshop where Packham will begin his training if his trial period demonstrates sufficient aptitude and dedication. Kamwasit shows him the carefully organized storage systems, the specialized tools, the work surfaces designed specifically for wig construction and maintenance. Each element receives brief explanation, not to provide immediate instruction but to establish the scope and complexity of the knowledge. That comprehensive training must eventually encompass excellence in this craft requires more than technical skill, Kamwasit explains, as they examine examples of royal wigs in various stages of construction and repair. The work demands understanding of materials, sensitivity to artistic principles, awareness of the symbolic functions that royal presentation serves, and above all, the patience to maintain highest standards regardless of time, pressures or external distractions. The young man's responses continue to suggest genuine potential for advanced craft development. His questions focus on fundamental principles rather than superficial techniques. His observations reveal careful attention to detail. His manner combines appropriate respect with the confidence necessary for creative work. Yet Kamwasit knows that initial promise requires testing through actual work before reliable assessments can be made. As the evening's activities wind toward their conclusion, master and prospective apprentice reach preliminary agreement on the terms that will govern their educational relationship. Packham will begin with the most basic preparatory tasks: cleaning tools, organizing materials, observing advanced work without attempting to participate directly. Progress will depend entirely on demonstrated competence, with advancement to more complex activities contingent on mastery of simpler ones. Night's peaceful conclusion. With the day's formal obligations completed and arrangements made for training, the promising young apprentice, Kamwasit, returns to his private chamber for the quiet activities that conclude each day. The transition from public service to private reflection provides necessary restoration, time to process the day's experiences and prepare mentally for tomorrow's challenges. His evening routine combines practical necessity with spiritual observance, maintaining the balance between worldly engagement and inner development that sustains long-term excellence in demanding work. Physical care comes first, washing away the accumulated dust and oils of workshop activity, changing from working clothes to the simple linen tunic appropriate for sleep, tending to his hands with the oils and emollients that keep them suitable for delicate craftsmanship. The small shrine in his chamber receives its evening attention, as oil is added to the lamp that burns before the images of Thoth, Thoth, and Hathor. Fresh water replaces the morning's offering, and brief prayers acknowledge divine favor that has enabled another day of successful service. These observances, while modest, provide spiritual framework that transforms purely secular work into participation in the cosmic patterns that sustain Egyptian civilization. Yet the evening's most meaningful activity is the quiet reflection that allows conscious appreciation of the day's experiences and their contribution to his understanding of craft, service, and the spiritual dimensions of both. Today has brought the satisfaction of technical challenges successfully met, the pleasure of royal approval for difficult work, the promise of new knowledge transmitted to the next generation of craftsmen. Each element contributes to the deep contentment that comes from work well done in service of worthy purposes. The Pharaoh's commanding presence during diplomatic ceremony, enhanced by perfect wig preparation, advances Egyptian interests while maintaining the divine dignity essential to cosmic order. Queen Nefertari's sophisticated requirements for festival presentation challenge artistic capabilities while serving legitimate political and religious functions. The temple ceremony, supported by appropriate religious regalia, maintains connections between earthly and divine authority that Egyptian understanding considers essential to universal stability. Beyond these immediate satisfactions lies the deeper pleasure of participation in traditions that connect individual effort to purposes transcending personal ambition. The techniques Kamwasit employs have been refined through generations of master craftsmen, each contributing innovations that advance collective knowledge while maintaining essential principles. The training he begins to provide young Pakhem continues this transmission, ensuring that specialized skills will remain available for future royal service. As sleep approaches and oil lamps flicker lower throughout the palace, Kamwasit settles into the peaceful rest that follows days of meaningful work. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and opportunities, royal wigs requiring maintenance, ceremonial pieces demanding modification, techniques needing refinement, apprentices requiring instruction. Each day offers fresh occasions to apply hard-won skills in service of functions that extend far beyond individual concerns. The rhythm of such service provides stability and purpose that wealth or status alone cannot supply. In his specialized craft, Kamwasit has found work that engages both technical competence and artistic sensitivity, that demands excellence while providing clear measures of achievement, that connects personal effort to purposes worthy of lifetime dedication. The eternal rhythms. In the deep quiet of night, when the palace sleeps and guards maintain their silent vigil over the security of divine rulers, Kamwasit's thoughts drift toward the larger patterns within which his individual life and work find their meaning. The royal wigs that occupy his days are themselves temporary, destined eventually for burial with their wearers or replacement by pieces reflecting newer styles and techniques. Yet the skills and traditions they represent possess a permanence that individual objects cannot claim. The techniques he has mastered and now begins to transmit to young Pakhem connect him to craftsmen stretching back through centuries of Egyptian civilization. The same careful attention to materials, the same reverence for artistic excellence, the same understanding of service to divine authority have guided this work since the earliest dynasties established royal traditions that would influence human civilization for millennia. Yet tradition does not mean stagnation. Each generation of craftsmen contributes innovations that advance collective knowledge while maintaining essential principles. Kamwasit's own career has seen the development of new adhesive formulations that improve durability, decorative techniques that expand artistic possibilities, construction methods that enhance both comfort and visual impact. The modifications requested by Queen Nefertari for her festival wig represent this same dynamic balance between continuity and creative response to changing circumstances. Tomorrow's work will continue these ancient patterns while offering new opportunities for innovation and excellence. Royal ceremonies will require perfect preparation that honors established traditions while meeting contemporary requirements. Diplomatic occasions will demand presentations that proclaim Egyptian cultural confidence while acknowledging beneficial influences from the wider world. Religious observances will need regalia that maintains proper relationships between earthly and divine authority. Each challenge offers occasions to apply accumulated knowledge while developing new understanding through practical experience. The craft that seemed impossibly complex during Kamwasit's apprenticeship has become a medium for expressing artistic vision and serving purposes that extend far beyond immediate practical requirements. The work that once demanded his full conscious attention now flows with the natural rhythm of deep competence, freeing mental resources for creative innovation and spiritual reflection. As consciousness fades toward sleep, Kamwasit's last thoughts turn toward gratitude, for skills that provide meaningful work, for opportunities to serve worthy purposes, for the privilege of participating in traditions that connect individual effort to the great patterns of human civilization. In ancient Egypt's cosmic understanding, every person occupies a specific position within the universal order, contributing through appropriate action to the maintenance of Ma'at that keeps chaos at bay. His position as royal wig keeper, while modest within the great hierarchy of Egyptian society, provides essential service that supports divine authority in its earthly manifestation. The precision he brings to technical details, the artistic sensitivity he applies to creative challenges, the reverence he maintains for the spiritual dimensions of his craft, all contribute to the successful functioning of institutions that have guided Egyptian civilization through centuries of challenge and achievement. Sleep comes peacefully to those whose days are filled with meaningful work in service of worthy purposes. And as stars wheel overhead in their eternal courses, as the Nile flows northward through landscapes that have nurtured human civilization since memory began, as palace guards maintain their vigilant protection of divine rulers, the quiet craftsman rests in the deep satisfaction of another day devoted to excellence in the ancient art of creating beauty worthy of God's epilogue, the whisper of eternity. And so the day ends as countless days have ended before, in the quiet satisfaction of work well done and service faithfully rendered. In his modest chamber, Kamwasit sleeps the peaceful sleep of those who have found their place in the great pattern of things, whose skilled hands serve purposes larger than themselves, whose patient devotion to excellence honors both gods and the divine rulers who walk among mortals. The wigs he tends with such careful attention will outlast their creators, preserved in tombs where pharaohs and queens await resurrection in bodies adorned with the same magnificence they wore in life. Archaeological museums throughout the modern world display these artifacts, marveling at craftsmanship so sophisticated that contemporary techniques can barely equal its technical achievement and artistic sensitivity. Yet the true legacy lies not in preserved objects but in the understanding that excellence in any craft represents a form of prayer, a way of honoring creation through the transformation of its materials into objects of transcendent beauty. In quiet workshops throughout human history, patient hands have shaped raw materials into manifestations of vision and skill, connecting individual effort to the eternal human impulse toward beauty, meaning, and transcendence. The palace sleeps now, its corridors echoing with the footsteps of guards maintaining their ancient vigil. Tomorrow will bring new challenges and opportunities, fresh occasions to apply hard-won skills in service of functions that extend far beyond personal ambition. But tonight, in the deep quiet of satisfied rest, dreams carry the whisper of eternity, the understanding that work performed with reverence and excellence participates in the cosmic patterns that sustain all creation. And now, as the stars trace their ancient paths above Memphis and the Nile flows northward toward the sea that embraces all rivers, may you too find rest in the knowledge that every act of patience and skill, every moment of attention to detail, every choice to pursue excellence over mere adequacy, adds to the great work of bringing beauty and meaning into a world that hungers for both. Let your eyes grow heavy with the satisfaction of work well done, your breathing slow to match the eternal rhythms that have guided human civilization since its beginning. In the quiet space between waking and sleeping, feel the presence of all those who have devoted their lives to the pursuit of excellence, whose patient hands have shaped the materials of creation into objects worthy of divine attention. Sleep now, carried by dreams of ancient workshops where skilled craftsmen ply their trades in service of beauty and meaning, where every curl shaped and every strand position participates in the great work of transformation that turns ordinary materials into symbols of transcendence. Rest in the understanding that your own work, whatever its nature, when performed with attention and reverence, adds to this same eternal pattern. May the peace of ancient Egypt, where gods walked among mortals and human skill serve divine purposes, settle gently upon your spirit as consciousness fades into the regenerating darkness of night. And may you wake refreshed and ready to bring your own form of excellence to whatever tasks tomorrow may bring, knowing that all work performed with care and devotion participates in the cosmic maintenance of beauty and meaning in our world. The workshop is quiet now, tools resting in their appointed places, materials waiting for tomorrow's transformation. But the knowledge lives on, passed from master to apprentice through generations of devoted service, ensuring that the skills which create beauty from ordinary materials will continue to serve human needs for meaning and transcendence as long as skilled hands remain willing to learn and practice the ancient arts. Sleep well, and dream of hands that shaped beauty for the children of gods, of patient craftsmen whose work outlasted empires, of quiet workshops where the eternal human pursuit of excellence continues through all the ages of the world.